Okay, this is my first video, so welcome to my channel. Welcome to Hell and the Curse of Racing in the Skip Barber series, which I've done now for many years, but lately I've been kind of thinking that I'm not really getting anywhere, so I thought I would start maybe making some videos to kind of analyze what I'm doing wrong in some of the races, and I think that'll help in the long term, because what tends to happen is on this track, for instance, which is Phillip's Island, I don't remember the last time I ran this track. So whatever I would have learned months and months ago on this track, a lot of those lessons get lost, they get forgotten. And by making a video, I can at least go back and watch my own footage and kind of see where I left off. And in spectacular fashion, I'm actually going to start this video off by murdering somebody in turn 2. So I start the race off with a really good launch, actually get a good run of the car on my right and my left. I'm going to actually get past this red car and actually the green car at the end of turn 1. Now coming down into turn 1, I know I have to keep tight to the inside right, which I did a pretty good job of. Actually get clear of the green car, and I believe that I have cleared the white and black car and that he was going to slow for the blue car, at least that was my perception. But he gets a little bit loose and comes back into view, and he scared me, and when I straightened my wheel out, I actually clipped the grass on the right side. Problem is though, is that I actually keep my foot in it when I should have lifted, and the back end kicks out and I end up killing someone, and a bit of a chain reaction. A couple other cars were involved. The reason it's my fault is because I didn't lift when I got in the grass. Usually I'm more disciplined than this. I think I was feeling greedy. I mean, I made all those passes and I didn't want to give them back. So that is totally my fault.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
So not a lot to say about race 2. It was immediately after the first one, again on Monday. And the only thing I really remember was this one pass I made on a guy in turn 1, and just how smoothly I pulled it off gave me a little bit of confidence going forward. In the first 2 races, I only managed an 18th and a 12th place finish, and my qualifying times were actually quite poor, and I was having a lot of trouble with the car on cold tires. So I decided to do what I should have done in the first place, which is to actually practice, and that's what I did. So on Tuesday I put in about an hour of practice, which mostly consisted of me spinning out constantly. But then I came back again on Wednesday, and I only actually spun out once in the entire practice session. It seemed like I was getting better at dealing with the car on cold tires in laps 1 and 2, and my lap times were coming down as well. That added practice time must have had an effect, because when I came back for my next race on Thursday, I actually ended up second on the grid at the start of the race. This is the race I'll talk about the most. because it was a race from start to finish, and it actually had the most kind of back and forth action throughout. Getting past early on turn 1, and then almost getting past on turn 2, but I do well to get a nice smooth exit, plus a little bit of draft from the car in front, and I'm able to stave off that other car, and it's just fully flat out through here. The curbing on the left-hand side, when your tires are cold, you actually can spin off of that tire, off of that curb, or at least get loose. Just getting sandwiched between the cars here. Just having to figure out how early to brake and how hard to brake to not overrun the car in front. I'm going to make a crucial mistake up ahead here. So coming around there, nice smooth exit using a little bit more of the track, but I kind of just lose sight of the road for maybe a split second, and I should be keeping left like he does right here. Maybe I'm looking for room to get around him, I don't know. But the tires are just not going to comply with what I'm trying to do there. This turn here up the hill and over the crest takes quite a bit of throttle control. It's not always flat out. You can almost do it completely flat out if the tires are very warmed up. And then a little bit of a mistake here around the final turn. Again, just maybe losing sight of the big picture slightly, not keeping far enough to the left. See, I might be trying to actually get around him. I don't know what that is. Almost went onto the grass there. And because of that small mistake, I'm getting passed again. And I think we're going to go another lap around in this position, and then on the next lap, I think I make a double pass. But we will see. I'm just trying to stay relaxed. The car goes off on the right there. And I think this is my first intense race of the week. I was probably a lot more awake, a lot more alert, driving better, and just try to enjoy it, not think about it. Car in front goes really deep into the brakes, goes a little wide, probably got an off track there, but holds his position. And I'm just trying to stay in the slipstream. Now you'll see I'll come up through here, and the tire's just going to be a lot more compliant with where I'm trying to go, although we did pick a better line as well. Now this is a turn that in some other cars, like the Pro Mazda, I just for the life of me cannot figure out, and tend to just go completely sideways up that hill. This is a first gear corner, and this might be the moment to make a double pass. I'm not 100% sure. Yes, it is. And just see how much better the tires comply through the last turn. I'm able to go exactly where I want now that the tires are warmer. And we go 3 wide. And I, at this point, can kind of sense that I can trust these guys a little bit, and that they're not going to do me wrong through that turn. And I kept extra tight to the inside left there. I could hear the car to my outside right, although I couldn't see him. I could kind of sense that he was there, so I kept tighter to the inside right than I might have otherwise. So I hold that position until the final turn, skip ahead another lap, and into turn 1 I'm getting passed again. That guy just flew past me on the inside. And I believe I get this position back fairly early. So let's just see what happens. Get a good run through there. He did get a little bit of a slip angle on exit. And I have a really good run at him, and I think I'm going to pass him on the inside right. And I'm just wondering, is he going to play nice through this section? And he does, which is good. He's a little bit too much of the curb, perhaps. Probably got an off track for that wide exit. This is just the rear angle of the completed pass. And The next few laps, I actually staved them off for at least a couple laps, so I'm speeding ahead here. As time went on, though, it got a little bit harder and harder to keep them at bay. Having a couple looks on the inside, mostly that blue car, just having a look here, having a look there, and I'm just trying not to think about it as these guys kind of hunt me down. And as we come to the next final turn here, they're just going to be too hard to get rid of, and I'm going to get passed again. Switch to the front angle. And it just seemed like all of the action in this race was happening in that one right-hand turn. Here I'm actually going to pass this guy again, but this time on the outside. Now going into this right-hand turn, I wasn't 100% sure what the tires were going to do, but it appeared once I had completed the pass that the tires were well and warmed up. And I kept losing my position on turn 1 or 2 and then gaining it back in that tight right-hand turn until someone had the right idea of actually passing me in that right-hand turn, which put me 2 positions back. Now I think if I had set up a move on the car in front, the car behind wouldn't have been so bold. I actually go deep into the brakes here and kind of lose it a little bit, and that actually makes the pass even easier for him. It was the one mistake I made in the whole race in that turn. I just completely misjudged the braking. At this point in the race, it really felt like I kind of lost my nerve a little bit, and it was kind of free-for-all. It felt like I was getting passed by everybody. I lose another position here because of a collision ahead of me, and got brake checked a little bit and ended up losing this position, although I did make one of those positions back and finish the race in 5th place. Now for a moment here, I was actually convinced I was going to shoot right past the turn and hit the yellow car, but it actually worked out. And maybe I used too much of the curbing on the right, but was able to pull up that pass, which was probably the gutsiest pass of the race for me. Now with race number 4, I mostly just want to talk about this massive crash at the start of the race. All hell breaks loose. And it begins in turn 2 when a car up ahead gets loose, and I'm thinking here, I got this. I'm going to slow down and do the responsible thing. I'm not going to make contact. I'm good. And then I just get ejected from a car behind, which runs into me, and not as bad as that car, which gets sent almost into orbit and is still flying through the air as I get back onto the track. This was quite a collision involving almost the entire field. This car gets loose, gets back onto the track, then gets hit. The wheels are just wobbling around. You just see all the cars ahead. He tries to get back on the track. This car, what is that guy doing backing up onto the track? Unbelievable. Poor guy. And this is another car, this is the car that started it all, got loose in front of the red car, and that's me getting sent off into the grass. And you just see the carnage. I've watched this crash several times and just couldn't help but laugh. Yeah, the red car hits the black car. This was after the crash. This guy swerved around another car that got loose. then gets loose himself, which I end up driving around him. And of course, just as I'm thinking, oh, how silly all these people are. Everyone's spinning out. Look at that fool. How could he do that? And then what do? I do the exact same thing. And a lot of these are probably related to a bad gear change, which is exactly what I do here. And this is what I should have mentioned earlier. This is the crucial section of this turn where you need to get down into third. Didn't throttle blip at all. I'm just thinking, well, I downshifted into fourth with no problem. Why not third? And then when you do go into third, the car just kicks out like that. And that's probably why all those spins were happening, as well as mine. So the last race was on Sunday, and I intended to do a double header, but after just one race, I kind of felt like it had my fill for the week. Not really a lot to say about this race other than the one mistake I made, which was just, again, losing the big picture, not staying enough to the left, following the curbing. I straighten the wheel out right here, and that actually sends me a little bit onto the curbing, onto the grass on the right, and I have to lift. I have to lift to ensure that what happened in the first race doesn't happen again, and then I spin. And just that little bit of lifting off the gas, I end up losing the draft and losing these guys for good in this race, and end up driving the rest of the race by myself. Still finished in fourth place, but not really able to keep up with them. And that was pretty much my week. Next week's races are on Oran Park. It is one of my favorites. It is one of the gems in iRacing's track roster. And it's actually nothing like this. It's a very windy, twisty track, so I'm really looking forward to racing on it.